Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Robert Schmid, also known as Mr. IoT. I am the Chief IoT Technologist for Deloitte with a deep passion for all things digital. This week on Coffee with Mr. IoT, I'm talking with Carlson Bull. Carlson, welcome to the show. How are you?
Appreciate it. Doing very well, thank you.
Carlson, you are the creative director and founder of an agency. Also, we're working together actually on creating a augmented reality or mixed reality app. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, I have to say, you seem very, I look at your background and I'm already like, oh, here's an arts guy.
I am. I was. I do have a background in art and animation. Went to school in Art Center College of Design out in Pasadena, and got caught up in entertainment design and some transportation design as well, and started a company pretty soon after that. Had a few different companies in there, but our main focus is always around entertainment and engagement, client engagement. So now, recently, it's really with augmented reality, virtual reality, and now more mixed reality. It's building engagements, whether they're platforms or apps, to draw in audiences, draw in consumers, convey information, convey messaging. But it's always around kind of fun, gamified experiences. I think that's where our strong suit is.
Are we going to have everything gamified? I mean, I think of, I always look at this with a bit of a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the office and, am I supposed to be serious? And then you gamify stuff. Talk to me about gamification. What does that mean in a business context? And, remember, I worked for Activision, right? So I'm all about games, right. And I love games. And so I'm just trying to always find what's the balance, and what do you find the balance to be?
Well, I think it's actually part of our culture now, right? We are so immersed in apps, in games, in media and entertainment that we almost expect almost everything that we do and we interact with to be somehow gamified. And I guess it depends on the definition of gamified, but I'm even thinking about how different UI elements appear, and is there a little sound effect to it, and that runs the gamut from those very simple kind of gamified elements to something that's that has a little bit more game structure to it. So are you trying to finish a certain number of steps, like the app that we're building for the presentation next week? We've got 4 steps in there. It's kind of a gamified element to it.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up the app. You and I are working on an app, and it's actually in preparation for Liveworx next week. So on Tuesday at the keynote, when I talk about the virtual factory, we created an app together. And the whole idea I had was, I want to bring the production line to them and talk to them what we do in production lines there, but you can't bring a production line on a stage. I mean, it's a fantastic big stage, it has a big X, and it's big and awesome, and you and I talked a lot about the how the stage looks because of us creating something. So we said, I came to you and said, hey, can we create a mixed reality production line that's life size? Was that a crazy idea?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think
you thought it was crazy too, not just my all my friends at Deloitte thought that was crazy. You thought it was crazy too, huh?
Well, we've done something that was on a big billboard, but we'd never done something like that. But I think it's a great idea to try to to bring this experience to a stage. We've got the audience participation aspect of that. To try
to get. What do you mean audience participation? They're not listening to me?
Of course they are. They're following along with the presentation. But yeah, I think it's a phenomenal idea, and using PTC's Vuforia is a great product. We got that, we got that 42-foot long carpet marker, as we're calling it, and you're going to be able to walk through, and basically a life-size assembly line. We started with plastic cups, but going the rubber duck route, I think was a great insight. Kind of gamified it, made it a little bit more fun. But
so we're making rubber ducks on that line, right?
What's that?
We're making rubber ducks on the line, right?
We are.
Actually, they're virtual rubber ducks. They're not real.
Yes. No rubber ducks were harmed.
Yeah.
Making of the app.
So talk user experience, user engagement. What's going on with that? I mean, tell people what happens. So I will see a big production line, and they will see one too.
Yeah. So we're building out the app to some extent as we speak, but putting some final touches on it. Yeah, so what we've got is a downloadable app, and it's going to be iOS and Android.
What's the name?
It is Deloitte Digital Factory.
No, Virtual Factory by Deloitte. Virtual Factory by Deloitte.
Thank you. It's been a long week. So we'll be able to download that. It is an AR app, and we'll have large poster-sized markers on the stage with you, and then below that we'll have the carpet. You'll be walking through a couple different personas, up on stage, and then the audience can initially spawn the factory from these markers. We also have a non-AR mode, just in case the arms get tired. But the idea is to allow the audience to participate, to follow along, and then they can also take it home. There's a downloadable marker which allows them to spawn the experience at home, with their own device.
I have to say, I'm as excited as I'm scared about this a little bit, right? I really haven't seen anybody go and say, hey, download an app at the beginning of a presentation. And that's what we're doing. So please join us on Tuesday at Liveworx. Carlson will be there. I will be there too. And bring the app with you. And by the way, in case you're just joining us, you are watching Coffee with Mr. IoT. My name is Robert Schmid, and today my guest is Carlson Bull. And we're talking about mixed reality and gamification and so forth. So Liveworx, Tuesday, 11:30 in Boston. And, you get to see the virtual factory by Deloitte, or as we call it, the Internet of Rubber Ducks. So that's that. And, as you said, we do have gamification in there. I actually think you even promised me some Easter eggs, and I don't want to give it away, but there's some Easter eggs for people to find. So, you and I got both carried away with gamifying, didn't we?
Yeah, and we've got a reference in there to your Activision days, but it's a subtle one.
Oh no, I don't know what's in there. Oh.
So we'll leave that to to discover. There's a couple different places that we put some Easter eggs in there, but yeah.
I just want to say there's something about having fun as much as being creating value and content. And I think sometimes I find myself getting hung up on, if I'm not serious, it's not serious business. And I think there's no truth to that. So I was really glad we did this. So just tell us a little bit about the process. And then I want to I have one last question for you. But, so we created a life-size factory line. What was the process? I mean, is this like a 12-month project? I don't want to talk about money, but I'm just more curious and sort of like, what did we do? Just tell people about it, because I think it's sort of interesting when they see it on Tuesday, what did it take to get here?
Yeah, well, it certainly wasn't a 12-month process. I think it was, I don't even know if it was 12 weeks. I can't even remember. It's kind of blurred together, but I think it was even shorter. But what was great about it is that we sat down. You painted a vision of what you wanted to show. You said you wanted last year was a live owl. You wanted something bigger,
Yeah.
and had this
Yeah,
vision.
no animals this time. No real animals. This time we have ducks. They are actually
Right.
virtual. But yeah, no live animals this year.
But we had that kind of collaborative process. So painted a vision, sat down, went through the process with the team, who was great, Chaz, Andrew, Chris, and really kind of detailed out some of the requirements or some of the storylines that you wanted to present. And then once we had a basic structure, what is the messaging, then we could start thinking about what the experience was. So to your point, creating an experience that has fun to it. I think personally, what that does is it helps convey the message more, because people are going to be engaged, and people love rubber ducks, hopefully. But having that kind of fun factor, building the messaging, but having a fun factor, having a fun way of presenting that, I think is definitely the right way to go. We've got some cool technology on top of that, so there's a wow factor on top of that. But I think that's how you make a message memorable. You make it fun. You give it some wow factor. You give it some impact.
So it was content combined with some sort of how do we engage people. How hard was it to do that? Is this something where clients can use this to create their own experiences for their factories and their products and so forth?
Exactly. I mean, I think the process is a strong one. It's understanding the problem, understanding the message, building out that content, figuring out what the best way to present it. In this case, I'm really happy with this super big marker that we've got, because you really can engage and you really can look inside of things. That's a little nod to the Easter eggs, because that's where you'll find them. But it's a great way, AR, VR, MR. It's a great way to engage clients, audiences with content, with a message.
I mean, I'm sort of sitting here thinking, for the regular product company and the regular manufacturer, when is the right time and what's the right model to start thinking of mixed reality versus printing manuals or having paperwork or having presentations? When do you feel it sort of becomes really efficient to do true mixed and digital reality?
Yeah, I see companies more and more looking at it as a way to engage an audience, stakeholders earlier. Because what you can do is, once you have even the blueprints for what you need, whether it's a product or a manufacturing line, what have you, you can start building that digitally. And with the different tools, headsets, mobile AR with what or MR, however you guys are, XR, I can't remember what the term you guys are using is. But however you engage that, you're now engaging with the product. You can interact with it. You can really get a feel for it months, potentially even years before you'd actually have that product with you. And then on top of that, to your point, you can start building in the user manual. You can start building in some of that collateral or that information that would typically be a print product, but you can build that right into the engagement and interact with it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the link to IoT is obviously now when you combine this with sensors, you show virtual product or virtual anything, but then you can complement, if you have a part that's real, you can also take this, point this at a real machine, and then overlay the actual data. So, or instructions and, right? So it's the sensors to the data from the sensors from IoT together with the augmented reality gives you a whole different insight.
And to just carry on with that, it's not just information at that point too. what can come up is the full interactive interface, right? So you're no longer looking at a console full of buttons. You're looking at a virtual interface where you can not only see the real-time readout, but you can now control the functionality of the device itself.
Yeah, and we'll show that on Tuesday. I gotta ask you, what's that thing behind you? I love that. There's yeah, both. We start with either one. You can start with the marker on your right, which is on our left.
So
but then tell us about the other one too.
This is one of the markers that the target images that we'll have up on stage with you on Tuesday. It is basically a graphic that we've built into the app, and once the app recognizes that graphic alongside of two others that will be with it, it spawns a version of the manufacturing line for us. So it's how an augmented reality toolkit called Vuforia, which is PTC's, recognizes and places interactive content in the world. So it's specifically
simplest way to understand. All I need is my phone,
yep.
And I'm going to load an app on the phone, and the app will look like through a camera. And the moment I point at that picture, something magical will happen.
Yes. Yep.
Did you bring the iPad to show us? Give us a sneak peek?
I didn't. It's actually in development right now. So.
Okay, no worries.
Sorry.
No worries. Okay, well, people have to come on Tuesday then. Yep. But that's what it is. This is the key where when you look at it through the app at this picture, something magical will show up. That's the augmented reality part. Okay, cool. It's a little bit like Pokemon Go for the industrial version of Pokemon Go.
Yes, that's a good way. And this is actually the representation of the carpet marker. This is it'll work on this 8.5 by 11 sheet, and something you can download. But it also it's the same marker that you'll be walking through. That is, I believe, 42 feet long and 9 feet wide. So
that's awesome. So what's about the other one? What the one on behind you on the other side? What is that?
This is boiled pea and carrot. They are two characters from an entertainment property that we developed way back in the day.
So you developed these?
A partner of mine did, yes, and we love them. And there's another one behind here, but that's, again, going back to the entertainment aspect of it. It makes it fun. We're telling a story. We haven't augmented these guys yet, but maybe that'll be next year for you.
So I wonder, when you sit somewhere and you doodle, I don't know if you do this, but I sit there and I draw. Is this what you draw? I mean, this is the kind of stuff you bring home. You draw art every day?
I do, but my doodles are nothing as good as that. I can show you some of mine, but they're pretty bad. Luckily, we've got a fantastic team that can see what I sketch out and then bring that to life, like they did this time. So kudos to the team for building this out.
You've been hiding the team from me, actually. I think you might have been worried that the scope gets too big, and you were sort of in the middle of this. How many people were working on our app? I'm just curious.
So we've got about 18, but I would say probably at least half, and that's going from concept and design, lead engineers, modelers, UI guys, and then the management, the wranglers, people who keep us in line. We need those. We need them. Very
cool. So I have a question I ask most of my guests, and I'm curious. I know you have a large family. You have quite a few kids, which I'm bow to you. But I have two, and I love mine. And my kid's mom always said we were born with two hands. So I don't really know how I would have done more than 2. But in any case, I'm curious, what internet-enabled things do you have at home, and who uses it?
Well, even though I own and run highly technical companies, it's actually my wife who sets everything up. So she set up the mesh network and the Nest and those kinds of things. I come from more of the art and animation standpoint, so that's where my head lies. So luckily, my other half in that regard too has more of the technical aspects.
So there's no augmented reality at your house at home?
Oh, sure. Yes. So we've got an Oculus and a Vive. I bring home the HoloLenses. We have all kinds of devices, whether they're testing for AR. Yeah, so it's filled. My daughter's actually, there's a program on the HoloLens where you can place holograms all through the house. And so just about every room has a rainbow and unicorn and their names in their rooms, but all in the holographic space. So,
do they get to play with your NFL experience? And it might be worth mentioning what you do with that, because it's a great combination of senses together with AR.
Yeah, we've set it up throughout the house in a number of different ways. I'm trying to get my son to actually come in and help build the plays. He's got his mom's technical.
What is it? Tell people. I'm kind of like pulled it out because I know what it is. What is it?
So it's a holographic training platform, and the idea is for the NFL and for collegiate football. You can create plays by simply drawing those plays out. That gets translated into players running those routes, and you can either use it as a projection system, which is what a couple of teams have been using, or it's also translates right into a holographic space, so onto the HoloLens. The great thing about the Microsoft HoloLens right now is that it tracks really well, so that we can create those plays on the desktop, and then you can interact with them on a real field. Saves time from a practice standpoint, efficiencies. It's repeatable, it's portable, and you've got your whole playbook with you. So we're getting a lot of good traction on that. Appreciate you bringing it up. It's called pregame prep.
So does that mean, this is my last question, I'm just curious now that I listened to this a little more in detail. So there's certain NFL teams who are using this today?
Yep.
And what I understand is those sensors that track the players, that's not publicly available data, or is it?
That is correct. It's not publicly available, but one of the reasons we built the platform was specifically, or one of the bases for the platform was to pull in that player tracking data. Every player, every play, every game has tracking, and it's positional and directional. And what we can do is we can take that data, pull it into our system, and create plays. So now you can re-experience those plays. Holographic players are running real speed, and you can go through them like this. You can slow it down. You can kind of second guess the quarterback. But you can experience from any angle. It's not just a single angle. So
give me one stat that that surprised you the most about football. A stat and I'm not interested whose team it is or who the player is, but any particular stat where you thought, wow, I had no idea.
Well, I think one of the nice things about the NFL is that there's parity. They try to make it very even across the board. And so when we talked with our MVP partner on this about if they wanted to keep it exclusive, they said no, and they gave us a couple other teams to go out and talk with. So it's it was very refreshing. We kind of thought that they would try to pull everything in, but they've opened up the doors for us. So it's been great.
So you're not giving me any stats. You're not telling me the fastest number you had or the slowest runner or whatever. Nothing like that, huh?
No, not yet. Next time. Next.
Carlson, it was great talking to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Well, yeah, next week. We start on Sunday in Boston. And please, for the viewers, thank you so much for watching. And I hope to get to see you next week at Liveworx. And if not, please come back. Every Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, coffee chat with Mr. IoT. And if you missed anything, please find past recorded shows and this show on my YouTube channel. And with that, have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you, Carlson. See ya.
Thanks, Robert. Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.